Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Donald, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
It is my pleasure. All right, Donald, give us the story. What got you into consulting for nonprofits in the first place?
Well, I go all the way back to graduate school. I was very idealistic as a young man. I grew up on literature, very suspicious of finance, capitalism, the extractive policies of business. And I was in teaching and I wanted to learn how to become a principal. So my graduate program said, well, if you want to learn how to run a school, you need to understand law and finance and accounting and all those things. And I said, oh my gosh, this is how the world works. It was wonderful to discover these practical tools. And I discovered that I like solving things and fixing things. But once we got over the big challenge, I got bored quickly, short attention span. So I spent my early career, first 10 years on staff as an executive and fundraiser in nonprofits. I ran a foundation for a little while and loved raising money and building things. But when we got to that growth milestone, if there wasn't another very difficult challenge, again, I got bored. So I finally, I ran a foundation and again, wanted to raise hundreds of millions of dollars and really go for it, and end up finding a better fit working with the clients and helping the grantees solve problems. And that was, about 20 years ago now. And I've been a consultant ever since. I adore consulting. It's not for everyone. You have to really have a thick stomach lining and really be ready to take your knocks. But I've loved the career. I'm delighted with it and happy to share anything that I've learned with you and the many people in your audience today.
Love that. And we're gonna get there step by step. All this leading to what, Donald? So what is the problem that you help those nonprofit organizations solve? What is it that you're helping them achieve? Exactly.
Well, the nonprofit community, it's global, but it's particularly large in the US. We outsource the government outsources much of our social challenges to small private organizations. We have a small segment of we're talking 7% of the US GDP. So this is a $2.5 trillion sector in the United States. It's enormously important. And it's growing globally. But there's a major constraint. Outside of the large eds and meds, as you call them, the hospitals and universities, there are over almost 2 million small nonprofits, and they're all run by people like me, very idealistic and often fighting the problems created by finance, capitalism, and extractive business principles. And the irony is, they need to learn those same practices to be effective. So what I do is teach nonprofits that business management, finance, technology, and so forth is not immoral, it's amoral. It points where you go. It's the system we have. So I work with the most ambitious small to mid-sized nonprofit leaders who don't want to just survive. They want to succeed and they want to get to scale. Every nonprofit talks about have these aspirational goal statements. 1 out of 50,000 is actually prepared to execute on those. So that's what we do. We're acceleration for encompassing planning, finance, execution, leadership, change management. It's an end-to-end process for nonprofits that want to go big or go home.
It's funny. Is there such a thing as go big or go home for nonprofits isn't like if you help one life, you've already won. And then it's just about obviously people wanting to scale that reach and that impact. How do you think about it?
Wonderful point. Many nonprofits are making marginal differences. And every child, every tree you save, every puppy you help, every house you build, every community that you strengthen, every bit of justice you deliver should be celebrated. And we don't disparage any of that. But we also consider what the great Immanuel Kant called the moral imperative, right? So if you have something that works, if you have a solution, arts, education, healthcare, human services, the environment, I believe there is an imperative to try to share it with as many people as possible. The great, preacher John Wesley, do as much good as you can for as many people as you can in all the time that you have before you. It's, philosophers, the utilitarians, there's a big philosophical tradition. We only have a limited amount of time in this earth, so let's do all that we can. So we're firmly in that camp. Uh,
Amen to
culturally,
that.
culturally, it is not often. Again, we're in a everybody gets a trophy kind of culture sometimes, where and you don't, and we certainly aren't disparaging people who are doing their best, but there is resistance and understandable fear to behaving in a very entrepreneurial, risk-focused, fearless manner that's really demanded to get to scale. And it's really hard, but it's
Amen to that.
possible. And we're here to help all of those who want to pursue that.
Mhm.
And I'll close by saying, too often, yes, we want to celebrate any sort of social impact, but what we don't want to do is social impact theater, social impact tourism. This is very common, particularly in the funder, in the small philanthropy. People start philanthropic foundations to, give away a small bit of interest on their big principal, and they celebrate the fact that they're philanthropists, and you can talk about that at cocktail parties. And they give away $5,000 while they sit on 10 million. And they're not aggressively figuring out how to solve problems. They're just engaging in performative exercises. That, again, we're not disparaging. Something's better than nothing, but I think we do need to stop accepting the theater and marginal impact and push for full solutions while we walk the planet.
Amen to that. I'm a big fan of once you find something that works, do as many reps as humanly possible.
What's the addressable market? Why are you better, faster, and cheaper? What's your crawl, walk, run to get to scale? And, that's your plan.
And then you
might
execute
not
on that.
get there, but we say to our clients, shoot the moon. If you only get to the stratosphere, it's better than where you were before.
I think we're going to vibe, Donald. Is there a particular niche, vertical within the non-profit world that you're specifically helping, or like a yearly budget? Like who does Donald work with?
That's my greatest strength and my greatest weakness. I started to come up with a process that was mission agnostic. It would work for any organization, distinct from programming. So our methodology has catalyzed over $1 billion in new revenue for small to medium nonprofits in education, human services, the environment, arts, conservation. We've catalyzed the world's largest reforestation program. We've solved the graduation gap on foster youth. We've taken great strides in preventing, working with traumatized children, social justice with low-income communities, many scalable efforts. Today, we're working on intergenerational communities, putting out services for deaf and hard of hearing children at a national level. So many different successes in diverse missions. But that also makes us hard to peg. So clients are, well, you did it for that type of organization, but they're not like us. And we say, well, actually, they're exactly like you in terms of their principles of governance and finance and operations and execution. So many small, in my consultancy is very boutique. We perhaps work with a dozen or two clients a year, and we do intensive engagements where we're really partnering with the CEO and the board to do organizational transformation. And it's not something that scales easily. So we try to pick the clients that are most ready for this, that have some affinity for business, and that are fundamentally are the most ambitious. One of our most exciting projects is with a nonprofit now called AdGood, which is going to open up social media access, or not social media, open up advertising and media access for the entire nonprofit landscape. And they're very entrepreneurial. So to answer your question, all of our clients, they don't have one mission in common. What they have is an attitude. They're very courageous. They have some sort of entrepreneurial gene already, and they want to solve problems, and they want to do so in a way that's not, it's not typical charitable behavior. It's more like a startup out of Silicon Valley. And again, I've learned most of our, my practices from, reading the business literature. Obviously, great thinkers like Chris McChesney, Four Disciplines of Execution, the great Jim Collins, Good to Great, Great by Choice, Yitzhak Adizes, the brilliant management thinker. And what we've done is we've hybridized all of those management principles for the nonprofit space. But I wish we were more established in a vertical, because it's scary what we do, and it's not a fit for everybody. And that's something we're still working on.
From the outside, how can you judge whether the nonprofit that you're considering working with or not has the right attitude? It sounds like a very hard concept to grasp when you're deciding, okay, we're going to work with that type of nonprofit, but not that type of nonprofits. I'm asking this and pushing back a bit, Donald, because I know this is something that a lot of professional service firms owners are thinking about, because they're like, yeah, we want to work with, VP of operations who have a business mindset and who wants to grow the P&L of their business unit. But like, how do you see this from the outside? So how are you thinking about this in the world of nonprofits specifically?
Well, we talk about, as Jim Collins wrote in Good to Great, one of the first steps to success is have a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. And many of our clients already have a BHAG. Maybe it needs to be refined a little bit. And they come to us and they say they want to execute it. And they approach the challenge of scale with excitement and optimism, not fear and aversion. And that's the distinction. It's a character difference. And we break it down a little bit. You're optimistic, you're courageous, you act with urgency, focus, and discipline. And they're all personal qualities among the leadership of the organization, the CEO, the C-suite, and the board. And when organizations have those characters, and they're also willing to be tenacious to go through the inevitable challenges of growth, we have a fit. And that's not too hard to discover, in an initial assessment. And again, we mitigate the risks of not having the right alignment by starting, like many consultants, with an assessment. And we go through and deliver, and which is all open source now, and we can talk about that later. But we deliver a benchmarking exercise and lay out the various skills, assets, and capabilities necessary to drive growth, and how they react, and what the recognition of those reports are, often paves the way for success. That said, We often say, you don't know anybody until you've spent time with them in a foxhole, right? Everything's, Mike Tyson's famously said, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face, right? So you really don't find out until you launch an initiative, you get your funding, you start it, and things don't work, and then you have to punch through. But initially, it's that courage and optimism, not it's risk tolerance, and long term, it's resilience and tenacity. But there's many of these leaders out there, and our core belief is so many incredible nonprofit leaders with these qualities. That's why they've started their nonprofits. Yet they're laboring with tools that will deliver them survival and subsistence, not true success. So we just want to find as many as we can and help them along so they can do their best work.
That makes a lot of sense. With that said, what has worked for you to get the attention of not only those nonprofits, but the right people within the nonprofits who have an ambition for building the organization to the next level? Marketing-wise, branding-wise, what has worked for you, Donald, to get in the room with the right people?
That's our number one challenge. Very difficult space because, first of all, the barriers to consulting are incredibly low. There's just like the nonprofit sector, you have a few large shops, and then you have thousands of single, shingle, or boutique organizations. All of them offer these profoundly compelling value propositions. And like any other industry, most of it is, shall we say, surface, not reality. And it is very, very hard for a typical time-pressed, anxious, stressed CEO to tell the difference between the player and a pretender. And, since I founded my own nonprofit, it's quite funny, actually. I enjoy this. I have all of these very junior consultants coming to me, telling me about how they can transform my nonprofit with their incredible methodology. And I say, fantastic, go read my book and come back. And if I'm missing anything, let me know. And that leads to my second point. So what I've done to distinguish and try to help, not just marketing and branding, that's all, the best marketing and the best branding that we can do is be very successful with our clients and create leading edge performance. We consistently deliver 25% annual growth in revenue and impact for our clients. And for people who want that, that's enough. And we have documented case studies and long 20 years of doing that. So we focus there on our marketing and branding, and that attracts the most ambitious. What I did, started 5 years ago, was write a book to open source our methodology. I also, as a staff person, we'd hire consultants, and they'd a lot of jazz hands, a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I want to do the opposite. So it took 15 years of practice and continuous improvement to finally figure out a comprehensive set, and an integrated methodology that goes from goal setting to planning to testing to finance to execution to leadership. And it was a labor of love, and I had many, many wonderful clients and partners help me. But about 2 years ago, I published a book, Scaling Altruism, which lays out the entire IP, step by step, cumulative and sequential. I know of no other consulting firm that open sources its methodology. And it's not just the process, it's the specific practices with the tools, the templates, and the examples. So we open that up. It's under Altruist Impact Accelerator. And there's a free license, so you can read the book, you can get the tools for free, and you can execute. So that's also, and what that's done is, and again, the book is selling reasonably well. It's on and off the nonprofit bestseller list on Amazon. It's done okay. It's not a blockbuster, but it's very technical and specific. So it's focused on attracting those leaders that wants the practical solution. So that's been our big marketing right there.
I mean, in order to have the moral imperative, you also need to be ultra focused. So I like the approach, although that makes sense to me. I was scrolling through the page of case studies on altruistpartners.com at the same time, and it's actually impressive. So
thank you.
The question, of course, man, I mean it. The thing that instantly pops up in my mind right now is, I mean, the proof is there, right? The proof is there. And if there is a guaranteed way to grow 25% per year, I mean, why would you not? So
it's not guaranteed. It requires a lot of hard work.
Okay, my bad for the phrasing.
When clients follow the methodology with fidelity,
yeah,
the results follow. Not every client is ready to follow this. So this is not a panacea or a one size fits all. With that caveat, please continue.
That makes sense. Thanks for rectifying. So with that level of at least commitment on both sides and proof, how do you, from the book, go from authority, kind of reach, to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, we rock and roll? There is so much noise in the space. Everybody is promising everything. So with that much established proof, Donald, how do you move from, hey, this sounds amazing, to guys who are working together? What does that look like for you?
It's very case specific, as you know. Clients show up with an incredible amount of skepticism. It often requires word of mouth, like anything from someone else. $1 billion and 25% a year. It sounds too good to be true because there's so many other people out there with too good to be true. And we have to go through a trust building conversation. And often it comes down to fit, right? I might not be the right personality. I have a very strong personality, I'm told, very blunt. I might, find a client might find a better fit with one of my partners. So we look up for interpersonal fit, but, first and foremost, we look for that, are we ready to go? Are we ready to go on what we call the growth rodeo? And so what we've done is allow clients to, for many years, it was, hey, we're going to go for this and we're going to jump off the cliff together. And that resulted in, a few clients and all those wins. What we're doing now is making a gentler ramp. So we're not trying to scare people off. We're not trying to dumb down the difficulty. We're not trying to apologize that entrepreneurial growth and scale is easy, but we're trying to socialize what it means. So this is why I do lots of podcasts. I do lots of webinars. And again, what the whole point of the book is out there, so you can go through it and see if it's the right fit for you. And we find our tribe, if you will, through that process. So that's why we've been doing this for 20 years. Do I want to have 1 million, consulting clients? No, I'd rather have 1 million people reading the book. We have a website where I have videos and explainers and things like this. Building my consulting, building Altruist Partners and trying to scale up the professional services aspect of this, we'll still only reach a fraction of the market. And that's a good thing, because the fraction of the organizations we help have incredibly huge impact. So we're trying to be extremely targeted, very strategic about, what's the most scalable effort and how can we do the most good for our time on this planet. For everyone else that, is not ready for that type of deep engagement, they can access the book and the tools, and certainly, get off of the subsistence treadmill and get into the impact fast lane. And the DIY approach, I think, is where we really want to help. But it's such a different process than what's major gifts, capital campaigns, strategic plans, auction galas. Nonprofits, small to mid-sized nonprofits, are just drowning in this methodology that constrains their performance. And this stuff is so different that it's alien to so many folks. They don't take management, finance, law, accounting in schools of social work and schools of public policy and colleges of education. So again, it's a different world, and we're trying to many different ways to bridge those worlds and say, hey, don't confuse your tax status with your business model.
Love that. You come in with great efforts from both sides. You achieve incredible results. Again, just look at the case studies page. And then what, Donald? How do you think about retention, right? You help them implement all the frameworks that help them get more investments, more members, deliver better impacts for the people they're actually helping, or institutions, organizations that they're actually helping. And then what? How do you find and fix the next problem and the next problem and the next problem? How do you think about retention at Altruist Partners?
We offer a long tail engagement. I'm like, it's not a surprise. Once we embed the management principles, the planning, the finance, the execution, the governance, when an organization has a KPI driven dashboard and it's doing short cycle analysis and it's on the growth trajectory, we stick around on a very, very modest retainer just to be a problem solver, help them with new milestones, help them get to the next level. And there's always new challenges. So we're there to really support the board and the CEO, because we've worked with so many organizations. It's a resource. Not every organization does that, but for some of our clients, we've been on a support phase for years. The best thing that our clients do is tell other nonprofits about us, right? And how did you get that? How did you raise your budget from 1 million to 6 million in 4 years? And how is this happening? And they say, here, read this book and go talk to this guy. We're not trying to stay. Again, we're not. Altruism is really our brand, and it's not, just rhetorical. I don't want to, if I function 100% in the client's best interest, we'll be fine. So I don't think strategically about how do I get that client coming back for more billing? How do I help myself? Just don't think that way. Is that the smartest thing from a business perspective? That's up for debate. But we really do live the brand. We are in this for our clients. The one thing that I'm proudest about is I tell our clients, for every dollar you spend in our fee, in the first fiscal year, you're going to get 25 new dollars back of sustainable revenue. And sometimes it's not 25, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 300. 25 is just the median. There's a big distribution there. But that's what we want. We want to be a force multiplier, and we want them to have those dollars, not often for fixing terribly low staff salaries, for fixing the lack of infrastructure, being able to buy versus rent their offices, but most importantly for the audiences that they're serving. So if we do that, business will solve itself. And that's what's kept us, we've had very, very steady business over the past 2 decades. We've been growing slowly. We're still quite small, We hover around $1 million a year of billing. We're not a big shop, but the impact that we've delivered, that's what I'm most proud about.
As I say to every professional service firm owner, if you're getting referrals, it means the work that you're doing is good, because it's good enough that people want to talk about it and recommend it to other people who then buy.
And one referral is, as you and I'm sure many people in this podcast know, is worth 1 million other marketing efforts. So it's all word of mouth, because again, there's so much hot air out there, particularly and it's not just consulting; it's any industry, but it's again, low barrier to entry. But I think if I ever wrote another book, it's like how to hire a consultant. how to tell the difference between the players and the performers, or the pretenders, excuse me. But at the same point, one of the reasons I wrote my book is to also equip the consultancy field. And while we license our tools for nonprofit distribution, not for resale by consultants, I've educated hundreds of other consultants on how to plan effectively, how to raise money, how to make sure a plan actually gets executed. That's the hard part, as we all know. And I'm proud of building the field. We've had a number of consultants come into the firm and go on and do other things. Our firm alumni have gone on to do great things. So I definitely consider field building part of our work. So that's an important aspect as well. We're not trying to we have something that works, and I'm trying everything as possible to propagate it, to break the myths and the substandard practices that constrain our social impact. Because we know how to do it. You're absolutely right. It's just a matter of getting the word out and really changing the culture.
I mean, I think you're right. There is in all businesses, but I think it's particularly true in professional services, where relationships are so important. When we start, most of the business is coming from word of mouth and referral, and you need this as a proof that you're delivering a good service, in my opinion. There is such a thing as having a reliable acquisition channel as well, which can take the form of a book, which can take the form of speaking engagements, like anything can work. But there is we have the referrals, but then we want like predictable pipeline, and this is where we establish something that we need to figure out how to make work, but that could be very valuable.
And this is precisely why I fired myself as CEO, because this is the irony of all of this. I am just like my clients. I'm a practitioner, and where my practice is weakest is building that mouth of the funnel, building that marketing and acquisition funnel. And so my colleague, Aaron Everett, who's now CEO of Altruist Partners, is rolling just that out. And he's a very sophisticated guy who understands all of those elements about putting out, lead magnets and, following the customer journey and using technology like Pipedrive and, taking people on the journey from, strangers to, clients. So we're delivering that out now, and what that required, and that allows me to do what I love to do, which is focus on speaking and writing and the practice, right? So I love helping other nonprofits, and I'm altruistic to the point where I have not, grown my own company to the extent it could be grown, and I need others to help. So we talk about, when I coach other CEOs, recognize, Yitzhak Adiziz has the PAEI framework, the entrepreneur, the driver, the integrator, and the administrator. And I'm a classic founder. I'm an entrepreneur and a driver, but I'm not much of an integrator, right? And I don't care for the admin. So I have weaknesses that constrain my own company's growth. And how do you solve that? You bring other people on your team who complement your skills. So when it comes to building beyond word of mouth, that, sophisticated, pipeline that cuts through the noise and addresses the audience. Yeah, we've got that whole thing rolling right now, because people that are better at it than I am are doing it. And I'm very fortunate to have their help and their partnership. But that whole piece is the one, that's my own fatal flaw, right? I'm not a good marketer, but we have people that are. So maybe we will turn into an industry behemoth. In the meantime, we're working the book and the podcast and things like this. We're constantly happy to share what we do, and we're surviving and we're succeeding. Are we growing at the spectacular rate that we should because we have a best of breed solution? Not yet, but perhaps we may. And that's you're targeting exactly the thing that we need to work on, as I'm sure many of your audience is working on that as well.
Donald Summers, ladies and gentlemen. Donald, thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast. If people want to find out more about you, see what you do, read the book, where should they go?
Scaling Altruism, a proven pathway for accelerating nonprofit growth and impact, at a bookstore near you. That has links to the tools, the website, all the stuff, and would welcome feedback. And thank you for having me on. Delighted. I've enjoyed your questions, and look forward to perhaps in another year from now we'll both be in. You're already very wildly successful with your top 5 podcasts, so I aspire to the scale that you're already achieving.
Thank you for the kind words, Donald. We'll put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure. It's that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I've just added you. Donald, thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
Merci beaucoup.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.